Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pathfinder adventure card game scenario. We are with the character Damiel over at the Skypharaoh's Throne. This is scenario 2.6, the final scenario of level 2. At the Skypharaoh's Throne at this location, the difficulty of your checks against Banes that have the mummy trait is increased by 4. After you are dealt damage that is not reduced, bury one random card from your discard pile. Alright, that's what's going on. Advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of Wadjet. And the first card for our exploration is the Viper Strike spell. That's Intelligence, Arcane, Wisdom, Divine. Well, Damiel actually has an intelligence of D10 plus 3, so this is an auto acquire. But unfortunately, for combat checks, he uses Arcane or Divine skill, which would be D4, plus 2D4. So, it's going to be of no use to him rolling a 3d4 for a combat check. So he will acquire this boon, and he will promptly discard it. Looking at Damiel's hand, it looks pretty good. We will just continue. Advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of the Elements. And we get a Corridor Dart Trap. Trap, Construct, Veteran are the traits. So Dexterity, Disable, so we'll stop right there and do a Disable check, because Damiel's Disable is actually quite impressive. D10 plus 4. It says here the difficulty to defeat is increased by twice the scenario's adventure deck number. So that will be a 4 since we're on scenario 2. Let's see. And we will go ahead and roll for this check. So, rolling a D10, we need a total of 10 or higher. So we rolled a 2. Plus our disable of plus 4 is 6. Not enough. Fortunately, we have a lottery urn in our hand where we can choose a number. So we'll choose the number 2 and we will re-roll that 2. Alright, and we're also going to use a different D10. That never fails. Alright, so this time we rolled a 4. Let's roll a 4 plus another 4 is 8. So we did fail. If undefeated, each character at your location is dealt 1d4 ranged combat damage. Okay, and must first choose allies to discard his damage if he has any. So interesting. So we'll go ahead and roll the 1d4. So we do take 1 point of damage. So it says each character at your location is dealt 1d4 ranged combat damage, and must first choose allies to discard as damage if he has any. Well, fortunately we do have, I'm sure, let's see, this one, oh, this is interesting, because the Scarab Buckler will not protect against ranged combat damage. We do have the Ubashti, so we can recharge this card to reduce damage. Doesn't matter what kind of damage. So even though I think this card will take priority, we will recharge this ally so that we don't take damage. But the Corridor Dart Trap is still around, so we have to shuffle that back into the location deck. And we will shuffle, and we're going to roll at 1d10 to see which card is on top of the location deck. It's the 9th card. Alright. And we will reset Damiel's hand. And now we will advance the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Pharasma. We will explore and we get the Scarab Swarm. So this is a Trigger, Vermin, Swarm, Poison Veteran. Let's see, we did not examine the card. So the difficulty to defeat, there is a modifier there of 4. So we do need to defeat this by greater than 4 and with the fire trait. But we don't have the fire trait. But we do have the Scarab Buckler. We can bury this card. Well, we don't need to bury that card just yet. So there are no immunities that this Bane has. So we'll go ahead and use a Noxious Bomb. Dexterity or range skill plus 2d6. So I believe if we roll a d10 and add 2d6, that will be more than enough to defeat the Scarab Swarm. And it is 12 plus 3, that is 15. So we defeated the Scarab Swarm, but since we didn't have the fire trait, it is shuffled back into the deck. So those are always, of course, very dangerous cards because they get shuffled back into the deck. You lose time. Let's see what happens. So we're going to put the 6th card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on top of the location deck. And Damiel does have a Blessing of Khepri in his hand. He'll go ahead and use that to explore. And we get a Bonecrusher Wizard. So it has a before you act effect. It's a trigger null wizard elite. Fortunately, I have a Chakram in my hand, which says that if proficient with weapons, discard this card to ignore a non-villain monster's power that happens before you act. So we definitely want to do that because we don't really feel like taking cold damage. Next, we will have to go ahead and do a Combat 9 check. We really don't have anything going for us, unfortunately. We can recharge a card that has the alchemical trait to add 1d4 to our combat check. So if Damiel were just doing a straight up combat check, he'd be rolling 2d4. And of course, that's not enough to get the 9. So we don't really want to do it, but we're going to. We're going to use our Fire Lance. 48. And I think 48 will get us what we want. And it does. We get a total of 10, 6, and 4. So we defeat the Bonecrusher Wizard, but after you act, he deals 1 poison damage to us. And unfortunately, there's no way that Damiel can stop that poison damage. So, Damiel has to lose a card. So I will go ahead and choose to take the Potion of Healing as damage. Damiel gains the Curse of Poisoning. But now Damiel will go ahead and use the Scarab Buckler. He's going to bury this card to shuffle 1d4 plus 1 random cards from his discard pile into his deck. So we rolled a 3 plus 1 is 4. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Damiel has 6 cards in his discard pile. So randomly determining which cards are going back into his library, starting with the 6th card. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Damiel does get the Fire Lance. He gets the Viper Strike spell back, but that's not really going to be very useful for him. So we are going to reset Damiel's hand now. So resetting Damiel's hand. Let's see where that goes. Okay, he's got an Acid Flask. That's always very beneficial. So the hand is reset. We are rolling for the Curse of Poisoning. We have to recharge the Ubashti ally. Damiel and his cats. Maybe that's my next story. Alright, advancing the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Horus. Damiel does have the Mumia in his hand. He can banish this card to banish a displayed card that has the Curse trait. But we really don't like that Curse of Poisoning, so we're getting rid of it. And now we will explore. Okay, we get a Tussa Silk Cloak. It's a light cloth clothing basic. Constitution 42 check. D8. Alright, we acquire this card. Alright, so we get that. We will reset Damiel's hand. He has no cards that will allow him an extra exploration. Advancing the Blessings deck, we get a Curse of Daban, which states that we can't explore if the top card of the Blessings deck has the basic trait. Unfortunately, the top card is a Blessing of Horus. And in addition to that, we have the Soul Stimulant in our hand. We can banish this card to banish a curse. Alright, so this is really cool. We got rid of the Curse of Daban. So Damiel's collection of his alchemical collection is serving him well. Alright, let's go ahead and do our exploration. We get the Corridor Dark Trap. It's back. So this time, what we want to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to do the Disable, which is D10 plus 4. Is there anything else we can do? We don't have any blessings. Alright, so unfortunately I think we're just going to have to do the same thing all over again. Because this isn't a combat check. Alright, so it's just D10 plus 4. Let's see what happens. Alright, this time we rolled an 8, plus 4 is 12, so we were successful. Alright, Damiel learned his lesson. Alright, resetting Damiel's hand. Advancing the Blessings deck. It's a Blessed of Pharasma. And we get an Ice Elemental. Outsider Elemental Cold Elite. Combat 12 check. Immune to the Cold and Poison trait. All damage is cold damage before you act. Alright, so fortunately, Damiel has the Chakram. So he was able to get that back due to the healing effect of the Scarab Buckler. So we're going to go ahead and discard it so we can ignore that Constitution. The thing is do we really want to? Damiel has a Constitution of D8, and he can just play one check. He's got the Acid Flask. We're going to keep the Chakram. We're going to go ahead and just try to straight up do this Constitution check. Come on, Damiel. He didn't. He can only play one card, which isn't too much of a loss because we get to use our Disable check on this check, which is a D10, 2D6. We're adding 4 to this roll. We're pretty confident. And look at that. 6, 7, 8. Boom. So Damiel, his pretty good Constitution gave him some hubris. The Bane is banished. Resetting Damiel's hand. Advancing the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Nethys. We get a Caravan Raider. So, the difficulty to defeat is increased by twice the Scenario's adventure deck number. That will be 4. We don't have the stealth trait, or Damiel, or I should say the stealth skill. So it's a combat 13 card. Let's see, what do we want to do? We'll just go ahead and we will reveal the Chakram to do range skill plus 1d8. And we'll just do that. We're going to hope for the best. Kind of iffy there. We need a 13. We're adding plus 2 to this roll. Wow, look at that. Great roll. 18 plus 2, 20. Nice. Caravan Raider, goodbye. We don't have any cards in our hand that will allow us an extra exploration. I'm going to toss the Viper Strike spell from our hand. We don't really need it. We're also going to toss this Silk Cloak. I don't think we're going to need that. So resetting Damiel's hand, advancing the Blessings deck, we get a Blessed of Horus, and boom, we get the Devoted General, the villain of this scenario. So it's a mummy, which means that we have to do a combat 24, so plus 4 for that check. Let's see what we're going to do now. So, immune to mental and poison traits. So immune to the mental and poison traits. Let's see. And it's a trigger undead mummy fighter. It says here, if the check to defeat has the acid trait, add 1d8. Well, Damiel has the Fire Lance. I think we'll do the Fire Lance, which is going to give us 4d8. 1, 2, 3, 8. So we discard that. We're going to also discard the Chakram. Since we used a weapon, we can use this to add 1d4. We're going to use Damiel's power that allows him to recharge a card that has the alchemical trait to add 1d4 and the acid or poison trait. So we will go ahead and recharge this Noxious Bomb, which is basically useless in this scenario, for another d4. And since we have the acid trait, we get to add an additional d8. If I can find my additional d8. So that's pretty exciting, as long as I can find the d8, and there it is. Alright, we're rolling all these dice. I'm going to go ahead and try to roll those into my hand without having them fall to the floor. Okay, rolling all these dice. We don't have any modifiers to this roll, unfortunately, and we need to get a 28. Alright, so we rolled a 7 and 8 is a 15, and 5 is 20, 24, 25, 26, and 6. Okay, so 26, 32. Nice. And we needed a 28, so we succeeded by plus 4. Wow. So very fortunate. The Devoted General is defeated, and the Sky Pharaoh's throne, the location is closed. Let's go ahead and do a deck check. Actually, during that scenario, I noticed one minor error. I think I should have buried due to the location. should have buried one card due to the Bonecrusher Wizard from my discard pile. That may have had a minor effect on the outcome of the scenario. But I think for the most part, Damiel would have survived and vanquished the scenario anyway. Let's go ahead and do a quick deck check. This is the final scenario of level 2, and the reward is the Mask of the Forgotten Pharaoh. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. So it's the end of level 2. So the reward also is a power feat. And I think the power feat, since Damiel was having some trouble with, I really want this power feat here, which says that when you would banish a card that has the alchemical trait for its power, you may discard it instead, or power trait, then you may draw a card. Or this one, you may recharge or reveal a card to add 1d6 to your check that invokes the acid or poison trait, or to your check to defeat a barrier. So I think that one makes more sense for Damiel, but I kind of want he already has the hand size of 6, and I think I want to play kind of like the more of the hand management, drawing cards effect. So whether that's a good choice or not, that's the one I will choose. Now let's go ahead and we're going to kind of do a abbreviated deck check. Let's look at cards in Damiel's possession that have the level 1 or 2. So Damiel has these items that are level 1 or 2. So let's see. So these are the items right here. That was a quick deck check. So these are the items he has that he can trade to a trader. And out of all these items to trade to a trader, he might get rid of the Mask of the Forgotten Pharaoh because it's an item and he likes all of his items. So I think what Damiel's going to do is he's going to go to a trader, and he might trade the Mask of the Forgotten Pharaoh, and perhaps he'll trade an item if he gets an interesting item. We will go ahead and visit Falsing Deek. We're going to shuffle up the item cards. So Falsing Deek is offering items of level 1 or 2. So randomly slicing up this deck of items, and let's see what items Falsing Deek is offering that are of lows. He's offering the embalming fluid, and he's offering the black marsh spider venom. Well, as you may know from watching my channel, I think the embalming fluid is hands down one of the most powerful cards in the entire campaign. So it would be kind of foolish to pass it by. So we're going to go ahead and give Falsing Deek the Mask of the Forgotten Pharaoh, and even though shucks. Well, we're going to have to, if we're getting an item, we're going to have to lose an item. So we're going to have to get rid of the lottery urn. I kind of wanted to keep it around, but as it is, Damiel, we're not going to take that. Damiel now has pretty much a full, if you were to look at his items, let's look at his items really quick. He has a full complement. You know what? Instead of the lottery, we can keep the lottery urn, get rid of the Alchemist's Shield, and get rid of the Noxious Bomb. I don't think this card's going to really... Interesting decision. Keep Lottery Urn or Noxious Bomb. I kind of really like the Lottery Urn, but as it is, we can just go ahead and keep all these alchemical trait items, and he'll have like a full, let's see, he'll have like a full complement of items. Let's pull that one out. As you can see, a full complement of 8 items, all with the alchemical trait. That's kind of hard to pass up. Alright, well, I'll let you know my final decision for the next scenario. I appreciate you watching, and I will have another adventure up shortly, which will be the start of level 3. Alright, thank you so much.